Good afternoon, students. We are to look at literature in English under the topic literary appreciation. Under this literary appreciation, we are going to look at figures of speech. By the end of this lesson, there are objectives we intend to achieve, which includes that by the end of the lesson, the students should be able to define figures of speech. Secondly, identify the figures of speech used in the sentences. Then the third one is that the students should also be able to make use of figures of speech in their speeches and their write-ups. Okay, now let's go to the definition of figures of speech. Figures of speech is also known as devices of language or figurative device. And it is common in our everyday speech, irrespective of the language concerned. Every language used for interaction is decked with figures of speech for its beauty and merits. Okay, figures of speech is the language we use every day in order to beautify our language, beautify our write-up. It brings out the aesthetics in our write-ups. It is also used to bring out vividly the idea expressed in whatever we have written or the speech we use. Then the definition, it is defined as an artistic ornament consciously deployed by literary writers in order to beautify their literary works. It is also used for a vivid description of ideas. Then we have different kinds of figures of speech, about 6 of them, which include figures of comparison, figures of contrast, figures of association, figures of indirectness, figures of sound, and finally, figures of emphasis. Taking them one after the other. The first one, figures of comparison. The first one we are going to take under figures of comparison is similar. Similar is a figure of speech in which two dissimilar objects or things are compared with the use of as or like. The things compared must not belong to the same class, but must have similar qualities. We have examples. Uchenna fought like a lion in the field. Memories are like bedbugs. That's the second example. The third example, Chiamaka is as tall as an iroko tree. Now let's look at this definition. In similar, we compare, making use of two important words, as and like. We make use of as and like to bring out the similarity in both objects or both things that we are comparing. And I said, things that are being compared must not belong to the same class, but because we are actually looking at the qualities in both objects. Then in the examples, Uchenna fought like a lion. The quality of the strength of the lion is equally seen in Uchenna. That is why we compare the two of them using like. That goes for the other examples on the board. Chiamaka is as tall as an iroko tree. The tallness in Chiamaka is also seen as that of the iroko tree. That is why we are comparing the two of them. You can see that Chiamaka belongs to the class of human being, while an iroko tree belongs to tree. Memories are like bedbugs. They also belong to two different classes. That is why we are comparing, looking at the qualities in both. The second one under figures of comparison is metaphor. This is the opposite of similar. It is a figure of speech in which two dissimilar objects or things are compared without the use of as or like. The things compared must not belong to the same class, but must exhibit similar qualities. It is a compressed or reduced simile. Now that means metaphor also compares two things that belong to different class but have similar quality. Now when we're making this comparison, we don't make use of as or like. It is called compressed simile. Okay, now let's look at the example. The first example, Okonkwo is a lion in the field. All the world is a stage. The sunshine of her smile kept me warm, kept me wondering for days. In our examples, we said that this is this. In simile, we say Okonkwo is like a lion in the field. But in metaphor, we say that Okonkwo is a lion in the field. So we call this in metaphor. We also said that all the world we see is a stage. The sunshine of her smile kept me wondering for days. These are all direct comparisons. Then the third among figures of comparison is personification. This is a device in which lifeless objects, things, or abstract ideas are given life qualities or human qualities as if they are living things or human beings. In personification, we give life attribute to non-living things, to those that have to those things that do not have life, to those things that do not have human qualities. We rather transfer the quality of a human being or a living thing to that thing that is not a living thing, and that is what we call personification. We have some examples. The first example, death knocks on every man's door. Hunger taught us a lesson. Okay, now in our example, death knocks on every man's door. Death is given the quality of a human being who is the only person that can go around and knock on anybody's door. Death is given that quality. Then, hunger is also given the quality of teaching human beings a lesson, which is also the quality of a human being. It's only a human being that can teach you a lesson, try to bring you back to normal when you misbehave. So that's the kind of lesson that hunger is teaching us. The example is the sun travels from east to west. Wow, I think it's only human being that has the ability to travel from one place to the other. But now that quality is given to the sun. And we can see the likeness of traveling when the sun moves. That's the same way human being moves from one place to the other. Then the fourth one among the list of figures of comparison is apostrophe. Apostrophe is a figure of speech in which the writer addresses an unseen person, a thing, or an abstraction, present or absent. Here, a direct address is always made. In apostrophe, we make a direct statement to an unseen person or thing, as if the person or thing is there listening to what we are saying. But in the actual sense of it, you are not saying the person or thing you are addressing. So that's why we call it a direct address to whoever or anything that is not present. You are not saying it. It can be human being, it can be a thing, it can be an abstract idea. Okay, then we have examples. Death, be not proud. Death, be not proud. Death is being addressed as if Mr. Death is standing right there with us and we are talking to it, not to be proud. Second example says, Nigeria, we have G. Nigeria we hail G. Nigeria, we are hailing D. As if Nigeria is a human being standing listening to what we are saying. Now, Nigeria is not there before us, but we are addressing it. It's a direct address. Then the last one, Friety, your name is woman. Friety, your name is woman. So woman is also addressed as if, Friety is addressed as a woman that is present. But in the actual sense of it, it is an abstract idea. Okay, the third, among the list of figures of comparison, the fifth among the figures of comparison is hyperbole. Hyperbole can also be called exaggeration or overstatement. And it is a device that exaggerates the actual situation being represented. It is used by a writer for the purpose of creating an impression, laughter, or humor. Hyperbole is actually placing more value to things that do not have that value. Make it look as if it is big, but in the actual sense of it, it is not a serious issue. Okay, we have some examples. Even 10,000 oceans cannot wash away my guilt. Even 10,000 oceans cannot wash away my guilt. More than 1 million people attended my birthday party. Mr. Omibe prepared a mountain of fufu for us during the New Yam Festival. The jilted bride cried a bucket full of tears. In our examples, we can see that the issues were exaggerated as if they are so much important. More than 1 million people attended my birthday party. In the actual sense of it, maybe more than up to 1,000 people did not attend that birthday party. But the person making this statement actually wants to tell us that a lot of people came, but not up to that 10,000 people. Then Inumibe prepared a mountain of food for us. The person that used this expression actually wants to tell us that they were well entertained, not to the extent of preparing a mountain of food for them. Of course, I know they can never finish that. Then in the jilted bride cried a bucket full of tears. It is an exaggeration because in the actual sense of it, the bride was not crying and of course placed a bucket before her to collect the tears. In other words, at the end of the day, we were able to collect a bucket full. It's just trying to tell us that she cried heavily. She cried without control. Okay, now we have the next one among the list of figures of comparison, which is litotes, which can also be called meiosis or understatement. This is the opposite of hyperbole. It is a figure of speech which purposely represents something as being less important than it really is. The effect is often created by the use of the negation words, no or not. Litotes is actually the opposite of hyperbole. In hyperbole, we exaggerate issues. In litotes, we underrate important issues. Then the most important thing in litotes is that there is the use of this negation word, no or not, in order to be able to bring out the effect. So what actually has that value is giving less value here. Let's look at the examples. That girl is not bad. That girl is not bad simply means that the girl is beautiful. But with the negation word, with this negation word not, it makes it to be litotes. The principal is no mean woman. Actually means that the principal is a nice woman. But the use of no here makes it a litotes. Mathematics is no mean subject. Actually telling us that mathematics is not a difficult subject. Negation of no here makes it a litotes. The next is figures of contrast. That's the second one we're going to look at. These figures of speech, as the name suggests, focus on the difference between the two things. We are looking at the difference between two things that are presented. That's the contrast. The first one among them is antithesis. Antithesis. This is a device in which two opposite phrases or clauses are presented in a sentence to indicate a balanced view. It is the placement of contrasting or opposing words, phrases, clauses, or sentences side by side in a statement. In antithesis, we look at the differences between two things that are presented. But here, we are looking at phrases, clauses that are placed side by side in a contrasting form. Okay, let's see the examples. The first one, man proposes, God disposes. Marriage has so many pains, but celibacy has no pleasure. More haste, less speed. In these examples, this is a statement, this is a sentence, this is another sentence placed side by side, just like we said. They are contrasting each other. Now, in these second examples, we also have both statements contrasting one another. More haste, less speed also contrasts itself. That's the use of antithesis. Then we have the second one under figures of contrast, which is paradox. Paradox is a figure of speech in which the statement made looks absurd, self-contradictory, unbelievable, and untrue. A deeper and closer look at the statement reveals the truth in it. In paradox, the statement made is actually or normally unbelievable. It sounds nonsensical. It sounds as if it is not true. It sounds as if it does not make any sense. And it is self-contradictory. But when a closer look is taken at that statement, when you look at it very well and you think deeply about it, you begin to see the truth in that. You see that actually what is said there is true. Let's look at the examples. Cowards die many times before their deaths. This is actually true. Somebody who is afraid dies inside him before facing the actual problem. So you take a deeper look at this statement, the truth will be revealed. The second one says the child is the father of the man. In this example, it seems as if it is not true. It's nonsensical. How can a child be the father of a man? But that is true when you look at it very well. Because a man can never begin to exist without a child first existing. Every man grew up from a child. So from the child, we get the man. The child grows into a man who also bears a child that will also grow into another man. So there is truth in the matter. So just like you say, without the egg, there can never be cock or hen. So the egg is the father of the cock. Of course, the egg must be there before you talk of the cock coming out. Then the third example says, if you want peace, prepare for war. If you want peace, prepare for war. Actually, the only time you can have peace is when you embrace yourself to fight and put up a fight against whatever that is bothering you. Then there will be everlasting peace in your mind. The next one is epigram. This is a short witty saying which is often a contradictory statement or poem in which the hidden meaning or idea becomes more vivid or clearer on a closer examination. Epigram is said to be a short witty saying. A short, intelligent saying. The statement must be short and filled with wisdom. Now, let's look at the examples. The first example, attack is the best form of defense. short and filled with wisdom. The best way to learn a language is to teach it. The third one, the more you look, the less you see. All these examples are short and direct to the point, and also intelligent in their nature. Then the last one is oxymoron. It's also a figure of contrast. This is a figure of speech that places side by side two words of opposites or self-contradictory in a statement. Here, opposing words are placed side by side. In oxymoron, two words that are opposite are placed side by side. When we talk of antithesis, we talk of clauses, phrases, statements that are contradictory, placing side by side. But in oxymoron, it has to do with word and word. Word and its opposite. Let's look at the examples. Childbirth is a painful pleasure. Childbirth is a painful pleasure. In this example, painful and pleasure are words and opposites, and they are placed side by side without any word coming in between them. The second example, the present economic crunch has made me a living dead. The present economic crunch has made me a living dead. In this example, living dead is also placed side by side. They are words and opposites. The third example, the old man's amorous relationship with the young girl is an open secret. This is oxymoron, also placed side by side, open and secret. That is word and opposite. Then the last one, parting is such sweet sorrow, taken from Romeo and Juliet. When Juliet and Romeo were about to part, it was so difficult for them. They had to use this statement. Romeo said, parting is such sweet sorrow. Sweet sorrow is word and opposite, without a word coming in between them. Okay, so this is the end of our lesson. Then the assignment. Please do try to identify the figures of speech used in the following statements. Number 1. Oh, Mother Africa, your children are dying of thirst. Number 2. The trees groaned as they fell. Number 3. 10,000 flowers saw I at once. Number 4. The wounded man cried like a tired hunter's dog. Number 5. Love is a pot full of yellow corn to warm your belly in winter. Number 6. Events are better observed from the dangerous safety of a tower. Number 7. The more you look, the less you see. Thank you all. Please do my assignment.